Something else that is kind of just like a notable point in my life is that I developed anxiety during uni, and it was awful. I had panic attacks almost every night, and Roger really helped me with that. Had a lot of other things happening in my life at the time that also really contributed to my anxiety and the development of it, and also depression as well. I had to go to a psychologist, and I didn't like it at all. In fact, I stopped going because of something that the psychologist said that I didn't agree with. It's not necessarily something bad, and he wasn't bad, but it just didn't work for me. He told me about this mindfulness app that he said maybe use it when you're going on the train. I couldn't deal with it. There's like this meditation mindfulness 5-minute thing that this guy is talking, and I couldn't do it. I remember his voice irritated the life out of me, and I just couldn't deal with it. When I had my first panic attack, I thought it might have been asthma because I couldn't breathe properly. But it wasn't. It was clearly a panic attack, and it was one of the worst days of my life, honestly, because then I got hit by a frisbee twice and then got a black eye. The room we had our dance class in had lots of windows, so obviously the light was shining through, and someone in my group was just like, "Oh my gosh, you've got a black eye, what happened? Are you okay?" I was like, "Oh, yeah, it's fine. I got hit by a frisbee," because I got hit here, and while I was clutching my face in pain, I got hit on the head. I can show you a photo of my black eye here. But yeah, that was the worst day of my life, and I was crying and I was upset, and everyone thought I was being so overdramatic. I didn't care about the frisbees. You can say that I'm scared of frisbees, because yeah, I'm scared of frisbees now, but it just irritates me when people make fun of me for being overdramatic when I had just experienced a panic attack for the first time. There's this particular method. There were so many methods. They're all kind of different, but all relate to performance. But yes, this is called the Suzuki Method. I don't know how to explain it really. Maybe I can find like a blurb about it. There we go. The Suzuki Method works to build an actor's awareness of his body, especially his center. The method uses exercises that are inspired by Greek theatre and martial arts and require great amounts of energy and concentration. Yeah, that's the Suzuki Method, and it was Death by Suzuki Method. It's different to the music Suzuki and the brand that makes motorcycles. The Suzuki Method was one of the worst things that we did. Not as if the thing was bad, it was just ridiculously hard, and everyone knew, because you would do it in your second year of uni and everyone knew. In first year you would see the second year students come out of that class being dead. There was one particular thing that we had to do, and you would just basically stomp for however many minutes, and not stomp with straight legs, stomp with bent legs, and you have to stomp so you can hear it on the ground, and there's a particular way that you needed to stomp, there's a particular way you needed to do this, and you just, like it said, there was a lot of like martial arts brought into the Suzuki Method, and it was a killer. But you had to make sure that the pain that you were feeling, any struggle that you were feeling, was not shown on your face. You needed to make sure that it looked seamless and like it was nothing to you, basically. My anxiety was really bad when we first started the Suzuki Method, and that thing in particular killed me, because anytime that my heart rate got super high, it would induce my anxiety and panic attacks. So while Suzuki was so grueling and stressful, what it did teach me is when you fall down or make a mistake, you get back up. You don't dwell on that mistake. If you dwell on that mistake, you're going to be held back, and you're not going to improve, you're not going to get better. So what you do is when you make a mistake, when you fall, you acknowledge it, you say, "Hey, I made that mistake," but you move on from it and you learn from it. That in itself is a life lesson, and it's something that I don't think I'll ever forget. So yeah, while Suzuki was so tough, it had its benefits. This is my last point and story that I will say, and I don't want to say this to ruin anyone's reputation or anything like that, but it is an experience that I had specifically, personally, and also an experience that everyone else had as well. Our year group was the revolution, and I literally mean that because this was the thing that we were all saying. We were the hashtag Viva la Revolution. This was particularly happening in our second year of uni, even though it was still happening in our first year, but it also affected our second years, so when we were in first year, the year group above us. They helped us out a bit with this as we were approaching our second year. They did what they could. But there was this teacher who I will not name again, but I will call them Declan for the purposes of this portion of the video. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Declan was not a nice person. They were quite nasty, and not just to us students, but also to the rest of the staff members and the teachers that were there. Declan spoke down to everyone. Declan had their moments of being nice. I want to say this story without giving away too many details, but still getting the story and point across. I'm going to rely heavily on my notes here, but yeah. I don't want to give Declan an insane amount of hate or anything. I don't want anyone to go after Declan because maybe they've changed since 2016, but this is what was happening in 2016. In 2016, Declan was quite awful, and there wasn't much we could do about it because Declan was really, really tight and close with those who were running the whole Australian Institute of Music. So I'm going to share this one personal story to me. In one of our plays, everyone was given a production role, but also an acting role. My production role was the choreographer / movement director. In every production role, there was a mentor to go with it, and this mentor was already a part of the industry, and they were basically a professional helping us out. Declan was one of these mentors and played a major role in the production of this play. This play required a specific style, so we had to make sure we did our research to make sure everything was accurate and relevant to the style of the piece. There was a specific scene that required a kind of dance or choreographed sequence, and so I obviously did my job, and according to the style that I researched, I choreographed the scene. And I made sure that the choreography that I created was accurate to the style of the play and to the scene, and I just made sure my research was on top, which everyone did. I had taught my peers, which were also the cast, the choreography, and they really helped me as well. It was like a collaboration. They had their ideas and their input, and yeah, we basically collaborated on it. I just taught the choreography. So it was time to show everyone what we had completed, and Declan was there watching as well. So we had shown everyone, all of the mentors were there, everyone who was working on the piece was there, and Declan basically had feedback saying that it wasn't good, it wasn't accurate, it just wasn't right. In Declan's feedback, I was also told what I should have done, so we basically had to scrap all the choreography, everyone had to learn new choreography. I made sure that it was according to Declan's feedback. So it came to that time again where we had to show what we had done, and we showed the new choreography, and obviously Declan was present. After we had presented it, Declan had more feedback and basically said the same thing, that it wasn't right, it wasn't accurate, and that it just overall wasn't good. So Declan told me what I should have done, and it was what we initially choreographed in the first place, what the cast had shown and learnt before we had to change it all to what Declan wanted. I was mad, I was infuriated, and I was confused, but I just did it anyway, and I kept my mouth shut because that's who I was, and I was just like, you know what, if that's what it should be, then that's what it should be, and we just reverted it back to our original choreography. But on top of that, one of my peers was walking past Declan and overheard Declan talking about how I didn't know what to do and what I was doing was wrong, and was basically boasting that they had to redo everything that I was doing and pawned off everything as Declan's work. Declan just kept saying that they came up with the choreography because I didn't know what I was doing, and yeah, they were talking to other professionals in the industry as well, talking about how I basically didn't know what I was doing. That particular story is my own, and that is my experience with Declan. But I know that so many other people in my year group had similar or even worse experiences with Declan. I think I actually got quite lucky that this was the worst that I had got, but we were literally the Viva la Revolution because of this reason. We had so many issues with Declan, and people who spoke up against Declan got it worse. So yeah, those are my experiences. Obviously there were more, but that's what I have for now. I will see you guys in the second video. I can see what's happening, but they don't have a clue. We are in a new setting and this is a different video, but in the same video, if you know what I mean. We're talking about my life post acting school. I really wanted to make sure to address this part of acting school as well, because it is a big part of my life. It has been 4 years post acting school, and what have I done since then? Almost absolutely nothing. It is really sad and kind of upsets me, especially when you see so many other people in your life succeeding and actually doing what they studied, and then you go to acting school and it is probably, I would say, one of the toughest industries to get in. There have been so many times where I'm just like, why did I go to acting school? Sure, I enjoy acting, I enjoy performing, but why did I go to acting school? Even though those 2 years of acting school were probably the toughest years of my life, and not just because of acting school. Acting school was definitely tough, but I had so many things happening in my life at that same time, which is probably what's contributed to the anxiety and depression at the time. But there were just so many things happening in my life at that time that made it difficult. But even though those 2 years were extremely difficult, I don't regret it. I don't want to take it for granted either. Even if I never perform ever again, I will not regret my time there, because they taught me more than just what the curriculum was asking for. It taught me life skills, which I don't think I would have learnt anywhere else. It really did throw me into the deep end, and I learnt a lot from it. Especially being the person that I am, I don't work well under pressure, especially if you throw me in the deep end. I kind of freak out and spaz for a little bit. But sometimes you really do have to be chucked into the deep end, even if you don't work well with it. You go in, you freak out for a little bit, but then you get over it and you learn some amazing things that you wouldn't have been able to learn any other way. So yeah, acting school really taught me just life skills and helped me to grow personally. I think because I really did have to be my own person in that place, I know who I am. And knowing who I was in that moment, in fact, I probably had a stronger sense of identity back then than I do now, which, yeah, it's really sad, but I'll get into that in a moment. Just, you really needed to know yourself, and I really did learn to know who I was. It just really was fantastic, even though there were some parts which I've talked about that were so awful. But, you know, like they say, pressure makes diamonds. But the place that I'm in now, and have been for the past few years, it really has been a place of fear of performing and putting myself out there. And I really do miss the confidence that I had when I was in uni, because like Snapchatting, I know it sounds so stupid, but I would Snapchat myself on the train or outside of the train station with my friends and whatever, and sure, I try to kind of be like undercover, but at the same time I didn't necessarily hide it. I was confident in taking my Snapchats and didn't really care what other people thought. It was just this confidence that I had, and I really do miss that. I really live in a place of fear these days, and I'm slowly trying to push myself to get out of that place of fear, because it's really just holding me back, and I hate it, and I'm doing it to myself really, because what is fear? For me, I feel like my fear that I have is just something that my mind has just created that's not actually there. So what am I really afraid of? I'm kind of self-sabotaging in a sense. Part of it is also just the Australian culture, I think. We don't have a heavily based performing arts culture in Australia, but really when it comes to that creative process, and especially that creative process that has meaning, it's not really, in a sense, it's kind of a bit shunned, and you know, people will look at you being like, what in the world are you doing? But at the same time, fear is just talking to me again. But I know in America, you have so many like expressive, creative people that I guess it's normal to see someone vlogging down the street or something, or creating like dance pieces. There's theater everywhere, and like for us, it's there, but it's kind of not there at the same time. Even though entertainment is so huge, I mean, sports and maths and stuff like that, that's all still entertainment, but it's not entertainment necessarily with purpose, it's entertainment for money, which I find really, really upsetting. But on top of that, something that really brings on that fear is being a Christian in this industry, because it really is such a secular industry. Like, if I try to speak up about something that's biblical, that the world doesn't agree with, it's gonna be game over for me in this industry. But yeah, being a Christian performer is quite scary, because there's always going to be some sort of like hesitation or unwillingness to work with someone who is different from the world. For me personally, and as a Christian as well, I'm not a part of any party kind of culture that involve drugs, sex, drinking. Not only am I not part of it because of who I am personally, but I just don't want to be a part of it. And that kind of party culture, I think, is bigger than ever at the moment, especially in this industry. Like, I've said it a billion times now, so I really should stop. But being a Christian performer is definitely difficult, especially considering the industry and the culture that we have in our world nowadays. It's something that is just endorsed everywhere. But yeah, what I really do want to do is make Christian works. If you look up Christian skits on Google or YouTube, you'll find so many things, but they're really mediocre. Just gonna be honest. So many Christian dramas and stuff are really cheesy, and I understand why. I really want to make Christian content that isn't so kind of toned down, but at the same time staying within the Christian realm. So again, if, for example, I know a lot of people in my church, they have actually been talking about lust and how lust is such an issue. How do we address this issue from a performance kind of perspective and way, and how do we get people to talk about it without showing anything that's really sexual? Because in your thing, you're not going to go and show the thing that is making them sin, but again, you want to address it at the same time. So it's kind of like you need to find that balance between, hey, we're going to be really hardcore and actually bring this out in the open, but we're not actually going to help you creep deeper into that sin by addressing it in a way that's graphic. That's the word I'm looking for. If you're a Christian creator, you don't want your content to be graphic, but you also don't want it to be cheesy. You want it to be real. You want it to be raw and true as possible without having that kind of graphic nature. But yeah, this is what I've wanted to do since year 12, where I decided that I'm going to be a Christian performer. I've wanted to make pieces that glorify God, and I've wanted to reach out to others with what God has blessed me with. The other thing that is just super terrifying is, as a Christian, you don't want to take the Bible out of context, and especially if you're going to create something that you're going to show to others, and it's going to be there. You really don't want to take the Bible out of context. You don't want to get it wrong. You don't want to show the wrong message. To me, it's terrifying. I don't want to get anything wrong, but I also don't want to hold back at the same time. And it's just, everything kind of just is conflicting in a sense. But yeah, this is where I'm at post acting school. I have loved my time there, but I want to move on, and I really want to take my faith seriously while taking my creativity seriously as well. And this is how my channel kind of came about. I wanted a platform where I can get my creative juices flowing, and I was scared to do that, but here we are. I'm on my channel and we're talking and we're creating things. I think I'm just going to wrap up this video here. If you have more specific questions about acting school, maybe I can do a Q&A, or if you want to hear other stories about acting school, just my life, and you want to see that, I can do that as well. Just let me know down below in the comments what you want to see on my channel. I really do enjoy making these videos, and I just want to create more. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel, and ring the bell icon so you know every time that I post. Thank you again, and I hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you are. Bye!